they questioned him, like, why'd you shoot Abe? And he's like, well, I didn't want to at first. He's like, my first guy that I wanted to kill was the leader of this, I don't know. I mean, people describe it as a cult. It's called the Unification Church. And the church, his mother is a member of the church, and he blames that Unification Church for the demise of his mother's business and their family's financial ruin. So he wanted to exact revenge. He had a grudge against this Unification Church on that church, and he had accused Abe of using them for spying, intelligence, that he would kind of prop them up in speeches. And so he was like, well, Abe helped give them power, so I'm going to take out Abe. And that's supposedly what he did. Like, again, we're still very early in the process, but that piece came from the New York Times, that's what they were reporting, that this guy just had a grudge against that church. And when he couldn't get the leader, he went for Abe because he saw Abe as like someone who had like a mutually beneficial relationship with this Unification Church. And the church, like when you start looking into this church, it reminds me, it's like a blend of Mormons, Christians, and Scientology. That's like kind of like there's different aspects of all of them. So it was founded in like 1954, and their colloquial, like their nickname is called the Moonies because they're founded by this guy. Like I said, 1954. His name is Reverend Sun Myung Moon. And he's originally founded in South Korea, and it was called the Holy Spirit Association for Unification of World Christianity. And so they believe in Jesus, they believe in kind of the Old Testament. So it's definitely like it's a Christian sect, I would say. But which so is Mormonism. Like they believe in Jesus too. But Moon basically was like, he kind of has a different interpretation on the New Testament, and then also kind of like Mormonism and Scientology wrote like a third. So you have the Old Testament and the New Testament, and then he had his own book, which is like kind of the pillar of their church, which is called the Divine Principle. And the Divine Principle says, God is all powerful and all knowing, but is humanized because he cannot be happy without the reciprocal love of his children. Okay. So that means like, he is like, that is kind of like well, we don't have to get into that, I guess, but that's like a stumbling block for Christianity. Like, how can you have this God who allows all these bad things and they kind of humanize him? And in his teachings, the Moonies, okay, this Unification Church from this Divine Principle book, says God's original plan was that all men and women are to be sons and daughters of God, just as Jesus was God's son. And he basically was like, the reason that he had to send Jesus is because Adam and Eve failed. So he's like, this guy says that God's original plan was just to have everybody live in the Garden of Eden forever. And then he was going to send Jesus back to kind of have the whole earth reborn and redo the Garden of Eden. And they were going to achieve that through a perfect marriage. So Jesus was, quote unquote, a perfect man. He was going to marry a perfect woman. And from then, you would have this rebirth of the Garden of Eden. But because Jesus was killed, he never got to fulfill that. So then he's basically like, I'm the third Messiah, and I'm going to have this perfect marriage. And then through our church and our teachings, we will recreate a Garden of Eden on earth by having like, you're all like children of me and my wife in this church. So apparently he was 0 for 1 because his first wife wasn't that. So his second wife was the one who he formed this church with. And then they were going to redeem the world. And the way, like, so he would call himself, or what they would call this would be the third Adam. So you have Adam, Jesus is the second Adam, Moon himself, the third Adam. and they're like the true spiritual parents for all of mankind. So they have like one of the weirdest things. Okay, look it up on your computer. Look up Unification Church mass weddings.
It's a lot of people.
It's like a stadium.
Oh, damn. And they're all getting married?
They're all getting married. And it's because they're getting married in this.
It's a mass wedding.
It's a mass wedding. And they're getting married to be true children linked to God through their true parents, which is achieved through this perfect unity, this perfect, so they can be born of this new manifestation of the third Adam, the true spiritual parents of mankind, which is Moon and his wife. But they're at least in part the motivation for murdering Shinzo Abe.